Hey everyone, on today's episode of Careers Out There, we're going to explore careers in marketing. We're going to be talking to my old friend Michael Edelstein, who's the VP of Marketing and Licensing at a global toy manufacturer. In case this is your first time, on every episode of Careers Out There, we explore a career path by talking to a real professional who does that kind of work. They tell us what it's really like, how to break in, and how to succeed, all to help you decide if it's the kind of path that you want to pursue. I'm your host, Mark Luber, and today's going to be a really good show because Michael's been in marketing since the mid-90s, so he's got a lot to share. Stick around. Okay, we're back. Michael, welcome to Careers Out There.
Thanks, Mark. This is a dream of mine to be here, so I'm excited.
Excellent. I'm glad you're here. So, Michael, I want you to tell everybody what you do as a VP of Marketing and Licensing. I'm excited to hear about that. I'm sure everyone else is too. But first, I want you to explain to us what you and I were talking about over the phone about the differences between consumer marketing and product marketing.
Okay, well, consumer marketing is probably what most people would think of in marketing. It's doing commercials, it's putting together ad programs. Nowadays, it's digital marketing. It's reaching the consumer. So who's your consumer? In our case, we do toys, so we're talking to moms or little kids, maybe 2 to 5 year olds, and what's that message and how are you going out and reaching them and really marketing your products to them. Product marketing is kind of the same thing, but it's more, okay, I'm developing a product. What is the message I want to tell on the product? What are the features? One of the single most important things you do in terms of marketing when you're in consumer products is your packaging. How you're designing your packaging, and really in the toy business is how are you selling features, like what's the most important feature in an item? How do you decide what that most important feature is? And it's really developing the product based on what we consider to be the insights of what is that consumer looking for. And really so I would say the product marketing really decides how are you designing that product to appeal to your end consumer. Whereas consumer marketing is more traditional, how am I going to get them then to buy it after that, if that makes sense.
Yeah, totally makes sense. And then as a VP of Marketing and Licensing, what aspects of those things that you just discussed are you overseeing?
Well, most of the time I'm probably involved in almost any of them. We really market and manage in my group the brands or the different product lines that we have. So we spend a lot of time really on the product. So we really start and we're working with designers and we're working with graphics people and we're working with project managers to help them essentially take an idea for a product or a product line and bring it from beginning to end so that it can be put on the shelf. So we spend a lot of time really managing that process, understanding that process, coming up with the insights. So what is a mom interested in? What are the trends out in the market? What's your competition doing? What is competition doing in other categories? And then how can you bring that into the product to try and be fresh and exciting and new? And then how do you build out that whole line? Because it's in the toy business, it's not really just one item. It's a series of items that you have to put together and then make a line and come up with what your objectives are and what's your price that you want it to be. So I'm kind of involved in making sure everything is happening on every basis every day in that thing. So it's quite encompassing, but it also keeps it fresh and exciting and fun.
What would you say then, if you could give an example? What would you say a good example of something you've done? I think hearing an example will help the audience. Like, what type of toy would you be working on when you're going out and doing the analysis and seeing what other people are selling?
Sure. Well, one of the things that I've spent a lot of time working on over my career is Thomas the Tank Engine, who most of the people probably might remember, or your audience probably remembers from when they were kids, I would think. And, we've been making those in wooden trains or die-cast trains over many years. So, one of the things when you have a brand as old as Thomas is how do you keep that new and fresh and exciting each and every year? Because we've been making it as a company for over 20 years. So you have to go and understand what are the products. Are there new characters? Are there new stories that you want to tell? Is there a new type of a destination or a place that he's going to visit? And then how do you take that and translate into any type of product or product line that you're putting together? So every year we're going to introduce a new line of products, some in the spring, some in the fall. Will probably be 20 to 30 products. So we come up with our list of ideas that are related to a show like Thomas or Bob the Builder or whatever, and we say, okay, we're going to do the Scoop and Muck and so on, and maybe this year instead of doing them just basic vehicles, we're going to make them all remote control, or we're going to make them wind-ups, or, any type of feature. And that's really understanding, what does the mom want to pay? How much are they interested in something like that? How are they going to, and how are we going to make it new and fresh and exciting? So you'll start in that respect, and then you'll slowly kind of then develop those products and also figure out what's the packaging. How are we going to package this differently? So the goal is, especially on existing lines, is how do you keep it new and exciting and fresh each and every year to keep moms coming back, and also to keep the retailers excited about what you're doing as well, because they're really our customers at the end of the day.
Right, for sure. Because if they don't carry it, then no one could buy it.
Right.
Since most of the people watching aren't going to walk in as a VP of marketing and licensing, what are some of the roles that would be below you? What's some of the more entry-level jobs, and maybe even a step above that people can be getting? What would they actually be doing?
Well, that's actually how I started. I started as an associate brand manager at my first company. And really the difference is, it was probably a more focused part of the job, but I was a brand manager or marketing manager, they're sometimes referred to as. And there's somewhat of an entry-level job, probably come in at the associate level. And there you probably are assigned to a single brand, whereas now I look over 10 or 12 different brands. So that's really one of the things that changes over time, is just more responsibility, or a wider set of responsibilities. But the core thing is the same. And really, when I was an associate brand manager, same things that appealed to me now are what appealed to me then, which is really the creative process of coming up with ideas, and how do you bring them and tell that story to moms and kids. One of the things you're doing when you're kind of in the marketing role is you're leading a lot of other departments. You may not have all those people reporting to you, but you're interfacing with a project manager or a graphics designer or a product designer or a salesperson. So you're trying to keep everyone all on the same page and with the same goal to try and get what you want sold or done or put together. And that's the fun thing, is you get to kind of control a lot of things, as you're kind of the center of the wheel, so to speak. And then you also get this whole process of bringing the products from beginning to end that you kind of own, and you're going to own the business tied to that, and so on and so forth. So that's one way. Product manager is another way, and the product manager is more going to be the person who's kind of like following the timeline to bring the product to market. So they're responsible for the dates, or they're responsible for making sure the product's at the right cost, and they're responsible for working with the factory to get the cost back and forth. So that's another way, is through the product manager side, and you can enter that as an entry level. You can be a junior designer, and that are the people who draw and some engineer, or kind of come up with the concepts of the product is another way to get in.
So people can come from a lot of different backgrounds. They could have studied a lot of different things before and come in.
Yeah, so those are all the different areas on a team that I might run that someone might be interested in getting in. And the exciting thing is collaboration. Everyone's working together to get to that goal. It's not something for someone who kind of wants to be on their own. It's for someone who likes to be part of a team and work as a team and get joy out of that, I think, is a really important part of it.
And this wouldn't just apply to toy companies. It would be cereal companies, shampoo companies, right?
Oh, yeah. I think it's very similar. I mean, every company or every type of company, there's bigger companies or smaller companies. They all work obviously differently, but that idea is all going to be pretty much the same principle, no matter what type of business you are in.
Yeah, no, and I like what you said about the center of the wheel, because when I first moved to Los Angeles and I worked at A&M Records, I was in the marketing department. Everything kind of revolved around the marketing department, and it was our role to interact with every single department at the company and keep everyone on that timeline to make sure that everything was moving smoothly, getting the project out there, and then once it was out there, that it was moving forward, into the hands of consumers.
Yeah, that's what it's all about. That's the fun part about it. So if you like that kind of stuff, you're gonna love it. If you gotta be entrepreneurial, which is a big thing. You gotta really want to be a go-getter and drive yourself through. But it's a lot of fun when you can do that kind of stuff.
And is there any other detail you want to share about the actual development of a product?
The actual development of the product can be very tedious. A product can take 2 years to develop from the time. A lot of my background was in the movie business before I got into the toy business, which everyone's always like, well, how does that fit together or whatever? And it's actually very similar. Like the idea of developing a product and developing a movie are all kind of fit the same kind of beats and rhythm. They take a long time to do. You have your pre-production, you come up with your concept, which is the same as kind of writing a script or coming up with an idea. You go into production or pre-production, which is tooling, coming up with kind of the prototype of a model or how it functions and selling it. And then you have your whole production time, which happens at the factory or else on a shoot. And then when you're done, you put it out there for people to see and view. And, that's kind of the fun, I guess, ego side of it is, it's always fun to walk into a store and see someone shopping with your product, or you see them walking around an airport and kids are carrying around your product. So that's kind of the fun thing that makes this, I think, a little bit different than some of the other things out there.
And is the licensing part of your job, is that because are you licensing characters from movies and turning those into toys?
Yeah, most of what I've done is through TV shows. But yeah, in this business, and really consumer products and the entertainment business are kind of, fit together like a glove, because almost anything, cups, shampoo, almost anything has a license on it. Obviously in toys, that's kind of the lead side of it where you see a lot of characters. But yeah, I go and I get to look at different properties, and we then will go pay a fee or a percent of our sales to that company, and then we get to use their characters in our product as well.
And so when you say you go and look at different properties, so are you going and watching different TV shows, going to TV conventions to see what new shows are coming out? How does that work?
Well, we're meeting with the studios a lot. There's a show called The Licensing Show once a year where all the studios and development companies come and present, all their different properties. But a lot of it is like anything. You got to get out there and kind of be talking to people a lot and get to know what's coming. And it's pretty, I do watch a lot of kids TV. Unfortunately, I had two kids, and now they're probably, they think they're a little too old to watch with me. But for years, I've been watching Sesame Street and Nickelodeon and Disney Channel, seeing what's good, what's not good. And you do that even on stuff that the competition's doing, because you want to know, again, the most important thing is to know what's going on. You want to always be kind of a step ahead of everyone and what you think they're going to do or might do.
So what really sounds good about this is that it's a great path for people with a creative spirit, but people who can also appreciate business, right? Tell us about the different skill sets and personality types that really make a good fit for this path.
Yeah, there's a ton. Well, again, being in marketing, you're exposed to so many different skill sets and personality types, because you're dealing with designers who are very creative types, and creative types are very different than a product manager, or most of the time are very straightforward, kind of compartmentalized, linear type of people. So it really depends on what you want to be in, I guess. But I love, again, that's one of the fun things about it, is molding personalities together and getting everyone to function as a team when you do have such divergent personalities is really a challenge. And it can be frustrating with a lot of things, but it makes it a lot of fun because you're seeing different things and you're kind of exposed to different things. But kind of more to your question in terms of balancing the business side and the creative side, I mean, that kind of makes it fun, because you don't want to, if you're too focused on one thing, in my opinion, then it just kind of gets boring. So I like the variety. I like that I can sit in sales calls and talk to the buyers and learn, try and, pitch them on our ideas, as well as looking at the numbers and, stressing a lot of times about what, if you're going to make your numbers. And then on the next hour, we can be having a meeting talking about what's the next big idea for 2013 or 2014. So kind of all blends together from on any different day or any different hour, which is, I think, really makes it a lot of fun.
I love it. I love it. What about education? What type of different educational paths do people come? I mean, you went to film school. Not everyone has to go to film school.
No. I probably took the most circuitous route to it, because I was an English major, and I probably picked up the business side much later than most people in my position. I think the traditional thing would be someone who is in business, but I do think enhancing that creative side, because it's not just that, toys are one thing, and there is that allows you to be creative, but before that I was marketing video head cleaners back when there was actually videos, right? So that shows you how long ago that was. But that was that was like the first really creative project, and it was like, it's all about how do you find a point of difference in it, and that's how you create products, is what's your point of difference, and how are you gonna let people know about that. So I think you need to have a good business instinct, but you want to have somewhat of a creative instinct and kind of, there's entrepreneur type classes that I think are offered now in schools. So it doesn't have to be any one set background, but I do think having a strong understanding of business and is a really good starting point.
What about college? Is college necessary? Do you think that people can go from high school straight into this kind of a path, or do you see companies like yours requiring college degrees?
I think you definitely need a college degree just to have the some of the fine understandings of certain things and just kind of the basic principles. We take interns mostly that are in college. I don't think I've had any high school interns, but I think that's a tough jump maturity wise and just experience wise to go straight in that path. But the big question I always get is like, do you need business school? There's there's a yes and a no. I think it depends who you talk to. It certainly helps in like this kind of business if you want to get into marketing or whatever to have an MBA. I think it helps in terms of just getting to the jobs that you might want quicker. I feel, I never had that. I had a master's of fine arts and I had some business background in that. So that helped me a little bit. But I think, my work experience has been my school experience, so to speak. So yes, college, in terms of graduate, I would say, that's 50-50. It just really depends on the individual person.
Right. So in some cases, though, you see people kind of get to jumpstart their career as a result of getting the MBA?
I think so. I probably wish I had it in some ways years ago, but it's all about the person. But yeah, I mean, obviously, one of the nice things about having an MBA or having a college degree is it buys you a certain amount of credibility to start, and that's what once that's done and once you're in, it's all up to how much drive or personality or intelligence the individual person has.
Right. Okay. And what about classes? Are there any certain classes that you think people should take, whether they're in high school or college, that could help prepare them? It sounds like such a wide variety of things can funnel into this path.
Accounting, I think, would help. Just basic, like a lot of stuff I didn't even think to take when we were at school. So like just basic business classes. I don't, introduction, like, not, just understanding the principles of business. And nowadays, I think there's product development classes that you can take, and there's, design. I mean, there's so much more out there that we were probably exposed to. So I mean, I would say if you have, if there's a product development class, that's good to know and understand. There's things that you can understand about working with China, because no matter what industry you're in, pretty much you're gonna have to understand the Asian market. It wouldn't hurt if you knew how to speak Chinese. Those are some good parts, and that has nothing to do with my business, but I think that's,
in general. And you travel there pretty often, don't you? Go about once a year to China?
Yeah, I go to China about once a year. I go to Japan once or twice a year. So, and that's the other fun part is when, if you can get into a business and really understand the global nature of it, that's a lot of fun. Because again, it's all about, what I like about it is meeting different personalities. And then when you top that on top of learning completely different cultures, that's really cool, right? And that's the one of the more satisfying things about that is really kind of getting to understand and the challenge of understanding a new culture or a person who speaks a different language.
For sure, for sure. Tell us then the actionable advice to break in. For everyone that's watching that's like all excited and hearing what you're saying, they want to do what Michael does. What would you tell them they can do to break into this path?
Well, it's fun. It's funny because, I kind of backed into getting into the toy business, but one of the things was, this was something when I got out of being in the entertainment business and I moved back to Chicago and I was looking for something that, really met my kind of creative drive. And I found an ad. It was back, when there were blind ads in the paper. I was like, toy company, So I was like, oh my God, that's pretty cool because you don't see toy companies a lot. And pretty much I applied blindly, and it literally took me almost 3 years from the time that I applied till I got a job. And I just persistently went at them because it was something I was like, I had a different job at the time. So this was kind of what I saw as my next step up or something that I thought I could really do something great with in my career. And I was like, this is what I want to do. And I found the contact there. I interviewed for a couple different positions, and I was just highly persistent and passionate. I think you got to show passion for almost anything you do in order to drive through. And just keep networking and, take advantage of all the great technology that's out there to allow kids to network and meet other people.
Would you tell people to think about what type of product it is that they really want to sell, and then then pursue the companies that sell those types of products and then work their way into marketing there? Is that the best way to go about it?
That's one way. That's kind of what I did. So, there's so many different ways to do it. The other way is just to say, I'm going to be a marketer. You get the education that ties you to that, and then you go and you're just kind of applying for any type of brand management or marketing assistant type of associate type of role. And, that might lead you to a company if you were in Chicago, like Kraft, if you're lucky, or Unilever or places like that are a little more varied. Or you could say, oh my gosh, my dream is always to be, I grew up as a kid loving toys. Like, I rode my bike to Toys R Us all the time. So when I saw that I could actually go work for a toy company, I was like, oh, this is like my calling, so to speak. So I think it depends on who the person is. Either you like the discipline or you like, you're energized by a certain type of opportunity, and then you got to, go after it. So I think my advice would be, think of, in your early search days, think of what drives you. But if you want to be a marketing person, because as much as I enjoy what I do, I think I would still enjoy it if I was marketing, something like insurance or, shaving cream. It's just because it's all the same things, elements. So go and find those opportunities and search them out wherever they could be. And then eventually you'll get to the products you love no matter what.
And the emails that I could see myself getting here are going to be, well, what can I do to position myself so that I look good to an employer? As a VP, you've looked at resumes, you've interviewed people. What is it that you want to see from someone, especially at a lower level, like coming right out of college, or maybe it's the 3 years of work experience and now they're trying to jump in? What kind of thing would you want to see them show?
Well, I think on a resume, you want to show that you have the college education, you've taken, a certain variety of marketing classes and stuff like that. So, I know someone coming in is going to kind of have the competence to do basic things, right? But I think if I'm meeting the person, again, this is a little specific to my business, I want to see someone who's passionate and lives for this type of thing, I want to see people who are, come in knowing our products from the moment they interview with me, knowing what we do, having ideas, having energy, telling me about how it relates back to their childhood. Like, I want to see that kind of drive and just excitement, kind of glimmer in people. That's what I know. That's when I know I'm hiring someone who really is going to be just great.
And then on the days of work that are crappy, because there's always crappy days, that person's going to fight through it because of the passion and all the other stuff.
Yeah, you gotta, especially like, can't always work for the big companies that have the billions of dollars to market and advertise and everything. So like the smaller companies that I work for, you've got to have someone who's passionate, is going to do everything they can to come up with ideas to make their products and their business work as well as they can. So, you can't always judge that in a meeting, but you want to have people who are, it doesn't mean they have to be like crazy bouncing off the wall people. You can tell if someone's just going to be excited and happy and like love what they do, and it's rare. That's why I like the toy business, because it's rare to really find something that you love to do. And, I really genuinely love what I do. I love my job. Like, I've had maybe 10 days that I've driven to work in 15 years where I'm like, oh God, I don't want to go to work today.
Right.
So I think that's
a rare thing. That's a special thing. Yeah. And that's what I encourage everyone at Careers Out There that watches. I always encourage people to find those kind of jobs, put in the time and the research into watching these videos and doing your research to figure out what really fits you so you could be as psyched to go to work every day. I mean, that's huge. Who shouldn't go to this? Weed some people out. What is the biggest challenge of this path? The thing that if you can't handle this, then this path just really isn't for you. You shouldn't even go down this path.
If you can't handle working in groups or don't know how to kind of work through groups, if you can't handle, if you want to say, well, I need to know these 5 people report to me in order to do my job well, you got to learn how to manage without being, having people report to you. That's really important in this type of job. I think
that everyone's opinion counts. Not always thinking I'm above you, therefore whatever, right?
Well, there's a lot of people who are like, I think are like, well, I need them to do this job, but they don't report to me, so I can't do anything about it. So you got to have someone who knows how to, work with people to motivate everyone around you to do a good job, whether they're on your team specifically or they're your direct report or not. But I think working in a team, someone who doesn't like to work in a team isn't going to love this type of business that much. I think people who like working and collaborating are on the other hand really going to love it.
Right.
But I think if you're kind of isolated, I don't think the marketing role is going to fit you. A designer might fit you. I mean, it depends on the different type of people. But I would say in terms of the marketing role, you got to have someone who loves to collaborate, loves to be part of a team, and loves to be part of a bigger process.
I want you to close this out with some keys to success. Make sure you look at the camera. What are some things for the people who break in so they can so they can kick butt once they get in? What are some things that people can do to really kick butt? Keys to success for this path in marketing.
Keys to success. Again, passion, showing your passion, driving your passion, living, no matter what it is, if you're going to go make cereal for a living, so to speak, or work for Kellogg's or General Mills or one of those. Go live your days in Jewel and Target and so on, watching how people buy cereal, shop cereal, really just be passionate, understand it, know it better than anyone else could possibly know that business. I think that's what's really going to make you successful is being that expert, getting the credibility that you are the expert. Once you have that credibility, you can get away with a lot of things. People are going to trust what you say. You're going to earn that trust. So having that drive and to push yourself to really be expert on stuff like that is so important to this type of business. Just rounding your overall skills, understanding basic accounting and basic business principles, that's going to help you. Understanding people really well is going to help you because you want to understand your consumer well and you want to understand the people who are going to work with you. So I think if you can do those three things, you've got a great head start over anyone.
Excellent.
You work for me. So.
Hey, I love cereal, by the way. Big fan of cereal.
I do too. Captain Crunch.
Captain Crunch. Crunch berries. Crunch berries. All right, I hope this was helpful to all you guys. Please leave
King Vitamin.
What's that?
King Vitamin.
King Vitamin. I don't know what that is.
Wisp. All the good cereals.
I remember that. All right, so please leave feedback, questions, and comments, you guys, in the comments section at careersouthere.com. Below the video, Michael, thanks so much for joining us today.
Oh, thanks, Mark. This was a lot of fun. I'll have to come up with another career so I can come back.
Yeah, exactly. Change careers. You guys, you can find episodes of Careers Out There on iTunes, YouTube, Blip TV, and of course at careersouthere.com. Thanks again for watching, everybody. I'm Mark Luber, and look forward to seeing you again soon. Take care.